And we are live. Hi, my name is Tyriece and
Elijah Jones.
This is MMA Renegade episode. I believe we are at 13.
Yes,
13,
sir. Last one was
How are you
12.
doing, man?
I am good. I'm great. It's a very beautiful Sunday morning. I'm here with a really good guy. This guy knows all his MMA stuff. How can you hate today? You know, today's not. It started off well. I got in last night from doing I think it was a silent disco, and it was a good time. But I'm all right. I can't complain, my man. Doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. You out in them streets? Yeah. New York opened up, and you out and moving and grooving, man.
Gotta bring masks, bro. Masks.
You are vaccinated, though. You are vaccinated. So
I am vaccinated.
If you can.
Let me tell you something. I don't play with nobody's child. I don't play with nobody's child. I don't know what nobody's child got. I'm not here for it. I had COVID already. I'm trying to get it again.
I'm gonna forget you had COVID and how much horrendous that was for you.
It was bad. Yeah, it was really bad. However, I'm here today and I'm good, but I don't want to go through that again. If you catch my drift.
No, I feel you, man. Before we start, because last week we were off. We weren't out here last week and everything like that. We missed TJ Dillashaw versus Sandhagen, of course. I'm not gonna stay. Let's talk about it. I'm not gonna stay in too long on it. I just wanted to get your thoughts on TJ Dillashaw return and what it means for the future, real quick. In 2 minutes or less.
2 minutes or less. The GOAT is back. He's the greatest bantamweight of all time. I'm ready for him to get the title. Let's go ahead and get him a title shot right now. Now I'm playing. I thought TJ looked good in his actual performance. I thought there were some moments where he had to catch up and come back. However, Sandhagen is a beast. This guy is going to be champ at some point. I think as a 29-year-old fighter and TJ being on the older side around 34, 35, I think Sandhagen's definitely going to be a guy who's going to be challenging for the belt in the future. However, I want to say my man looked good last night. Last weekend, I should say. Dillashaw was able to not only surprisingly march back from the cut he had here on the inner eyebrow, but he was able to get these positions that were better, in my opinion. And Cody Sandhagen kind of stayed stagnant because I think in his eyes, he felt like he did enough to win. But that's never the case when you fight a guy like TJ Dillashaw. So I want to say TJ Dillashaw, I want to give him his credit. I think TJ Dillashaw did a great performance. I had a split decision TJ only because of the way he controlled the later round, the last round 5, although he was hit with a lot of, he was hit with a lot of good combinations or single punches. I want to say TJ Dillashaw did a very good job of securing positions and trying to get takedowns and being able to kind of push the pace against Cody. So that was one of the best things about TJ Dillashaw coming back. The last thing I want to say is that TJ had what appears to have had a lot of injuries going into the fight and during the fight. Tyriece, you're back. Where'd you go?
What? I didn't know you could not see me not gone.
Everyone saw you not gone.
Well, no, I thought me and you could see each other do this thing. No, I was putting the camera on you specifically just so you could get you kind of because we've been talking about TJ Dillashaw for a while. We've been talking about how TJ Dillashaw, he was going to lose. I said he's going to lose to Corey Sandhagen. I said that, he was a cheater, stuff like that, EPL, blah, blah, blah. So I've been saying this for a while. You love TJ Dillashaw. So I wanted to give you your moment to, talk about that for a second. I know for a while it's kind of been waiting. This is what you've been waiting for a while.
We and it was right. It was right to believe that Cody Sandhagen would win because Cody is Cody's top 3 in that division. Corey. I said Cody. Corey's top 3 in that Sandhagen's top 3 in that division, without a doubt. But I would love to say that what was the most impressive part is the experience that TJ was able to bring back to the octagon, right? Not only did he have this kind of nerve issue in one of his feet, I think he popped his knee or something like that, or tore a ligament in his knee, and then he had a hand issue. His game plan after that, you could see, was more wrestling based, which is basically his background. He switched that, adapted that, and again, Corey kind of stayed stagnant in those moments. Didn't really break apart. Kind of felt that there wasn't much being done, which you could make the argument much wasn't done during those moments. However, securing those dominant positions, what we saw that night on the judges' eyes, was what would allow the fighter to win a specific round. So heading into the last round, it was 2-2, and then TJ Dillashaw pushed the pace. I wouldn't say he led with combinations because it seemed like they both equaled in the same strikes at the end of the 5th round, but just the octagon control, the pushing forward, the gaining the clinch, just getting in his face and things like that. Corey had great counters and things like that, but only being pushed back the way he did just didn't seem like he was controlling that fight, even though that's his style, right? To lead and matador people into these kind of exchanges sometimes. So, yeah, all in all, TJ looked good. I think TJ can only get better. But the injuries he had in that fight, I can't guarantee he'll be fighting for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say this on TJ Dillashaw. Great performance coming back. I think for Corey Sandhagen, I hope this is a learning moment of just like the way his offense is spectacular. It could be highlight reel knockouts. It could be show-stopping performances.
Yeah.
But the spinning techniques, unless they are set up well or unless you can not do them as much so it comes as a surprise, like once you do it over and over again, you kind of see through it. And so a lot of the times when he would try to do the spinning techniques, that would be the time where TJ Dillashaw would either take his back or would shoot. Yeah, shoot. But like when he was able to stand his ground and not do the spinning attacks and was just using his jab or using his length, that was when he had the most success. So I hope that he kind of looks at this and kind of sees that, okay, maybe the spinning attacks, it could work in some instances, but maybe I shouldn't go to the well with them too much. Maybe I should just, stick to what take the fundamentals and just, go with the jab, go to the body a little bit. Don't have to and set up the spinning attacks later on to where, okay, maybe his hands drop down. Maybe I could do a spinning head kick to the head, a spinning heel kick to the head, or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
So good one for TJ Dillashaw. All right, man. So last night, Elijah, you want to give your spiel, or do you want to?
I think this is your day. This is your day, sir.
All right. So last night, Bellator versus UFC, which it's very rare we have instances where Bellator and the UFC go head to head. There's only been a few instances last year, and usually those instances really leaned on Bellator having the better card. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but like usually Bellator has the most important card between the two whenever they go head to head.
Yeah,
is that fair?
That's a very good. What do you call that? Observation to me, because it's not that it's. I think at the point when UFC was already rolling out cards, Bellator started doing big cards, right? Like to get back on their feet, they started to have like UFC again. When UFC restarted during COVID, they started doing big fights, right? Like they started throwing things together, and they were by the time Bellator started getting back in during COVID, Bellator just had started. Was like, hey, like this is a good plan. Let's just start putting big, massive fights together. So that's a very big good observation from last year, and you could say probably the end of 2019 too, actually.
Yeah, Bellator for some reason, whenever the UFC and Bellator go head to head on these nights, Bellator just has the most intriguing card between the two. And last night was no different. We had the main event of AJ McKee versus Patricio Pitbull, which is something that's been building up for months and months of seeing this fight. We kind of like when the tournament was started, I think that was the match people were looking for was AJ McKee versus Pitbull.
The one fight that. 3 fights that we possibly we knew we wanted to see was the Darrion Caldwell versus AJ McKee. Then we also knew we wanted either Darrion Caldwell versus Patricio, or we wanted to see AJ McKee versus Patricio, and we got AJ McKee proved to be the best 145er throughout that whole tourney.
Right. So, and then on the UFC side, we had Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland, which that fight was. In a way, if you look at it this way, it was kind of a fight where Uriah Hall, if he beats Sean Strickland, okay, now we can put Uriah Hall in that top 5 conversation of possibly getting closer to a title fight. So it was, and the way if you look at the promotion for the main event of UFC, it was kind of built of Uriah Hall. Redemption and kind of his journey getting here. And he would talk about a lot of how he beat, Anderson Silva. He beat 2 legends back to back, Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman, also former champions. Yeah, and it was kind of building. Also, being at the Apex Center, UFC Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that. So they're kind of mixing that all into there. So it was kind of supposed to be a big moment for Uriah Hall, being a main event for a second time. And then if he beats Sean Strickland, you could make an argument that he goes into top 5. So it was important on that aspect for them. But between the UFC Uriah Hall's journey and his main event against Sean Strickland, AJ McKee, I thought the more compelling storyline was the AJ McKee and Pitbull.
And that's because, again, Patricio is a champ in Bellator. Let's not forget that, right?
Yes, beat Michael Chandler.
He beat Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's contract on Michael Chandler's last contract fight with Bellator. Chandler goes to UFC. Patricio runs with it, but there's the narrative that he beat him and he left, right? That's just new king of the lightweight. Patricio has a 145 belt, which he's had for quite some time. He's defended over Juan Archuleta and Patchy Mix, right? Both dominant performances on Patricio Pitbull's part, right? Then you have him winning at 155. So you had arguably one of the best fighters under the Bellator, umbrella fighting last night, as opposed to, great fighters in Sean Strickland and Uriah Hall, but these guys aren't, compared to what Pitbull has and compared to what they have, it just doesn't equate,
Yeah, all the interest, it seemed like, from social media, and if you're watching, we appreciate you, we love you. Please tell us what you think. All from the perspective of just looking at social media and looking at what was trending and stuff like that, it seems to me that Bellator for the course of this week and even last night was the more bigger event when everybody's it was on everybody's mind. The celebrities were out there as well. Media was out there as well, so it seemed like everybody's looking at that. Now let's get into the card, right? So AJ McKee defeats Patricio Pitbull, which I would never thought. When we were talking this behind the scenes, I thought, okay, AJ McKee is good, but I can't rule out Pitbull. Pitbull is a beast. Pitbull has the experience. Pitbull has been in 5 rounds. Pitbull has a lot of tools in his toolbox, let's say, to get it done. I did not see it going down the way it did.
No, we spoke on the phone. We spoke on the phone.
Yes.
And that's what we had that conversation saying, like, whoa, like Patricio Pitbull is arguably one of the top 5 fighters in the Bellator promotion right now. Arguably top 2. Top 2 as of experience and what he's accomplished. One of maybe only 2 champs, right? Him and Ryan Bader.
Yes.
And Ryan Bader lost his light heavyweight belt, so that's different. But again, we talked about it. Patricio Pitbull, I mean, the guy's talented, right? He's destroying people at 145, beats Chandler at 55. The argument could be made that, he would kind of run through a guy like AJ McKee because it's not something that's too unfamiliar to him, because every guy in that division at 145 tends to be bigger than him. Bigger, a little lengthier. Now, I wouldn't say stronger, but just they're built not like him. So him having to fight the same kind of architectural body type is easy, right? Consistently going after. But I went for AJ McKee. I went to play devil's advocate, of course, but I also thought AJ McKee has been looking impressive. And that's horny. Like I don't want to say he's got a weird style. He's got a unique style. He's able to get these weird submissions. That's like, wow. Didn't even know that's a thing. I didn't even know people could tap from it.
No. And that was one of the things I looked at this fight. It's like, I thought standing up wise, I thought Pitbull would have the strength advantage between the punching power between AJ McKee and Pitbull. I thought submission wise, I thought Zach DG King, you. Oh, you know what? I like that Izzy profile pic. I like it a lot.
My brother would like that.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, we'll see Izzy in November. We'll talk about that in a second. But I thought submission wise, I thought on the grappling and jiu-jitsu, I thought Pitbull would have the advantage there too. So I thought in my mind, I was like, I don't see really where the advantage will go slightly towards AJ McKee. McKee proved us all wrong. He said he's going to finish Pitbull in the first round, and he even said he's going to do it by head kick. And he almost did. He
technically did. I mean, if you really think
technically,
you could say, damn, that was the end of it, right? I think when you get a guy like AJ McKee, who has, this is like one of those cases like Khabib, right, where you've been around literally martial arts your entire life, like most fighters, but AJ McKee's dad, Antonio McKee, has kept him in the gym since he was young. You had one of the things that I loved about this Bellator card was actually the buildup. And I don't know if you saw this, but you know how UFC has the what's the thing? Countdown, right? Yeah. Bellator had a countdown. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, I did.
It was like the buildup for this fight, like you said, in my opinion, Tyriece, you called me and spoke to me, I think on, I want to say Thursday or maybe Friday, and you were like, and I had to ask you who was fighting in UFC this weekend. I had to ask you. How often do I have to ask you who's fighting?
No, it speaks volume to the amount of intrigue that Bellator had, which you know, some of the times when Bellator doesn't go side by side by UFC, but like on the same week they have an event, it probably goes by the wayside and we don't want to think about it. But like this one, everybody was talking about Bellator. Let me just put this perspective, right? So on Discord, which you can follow, you could in our description is the Discord link. Click there, it's free, not gonna charge you anything. It's for we do watch alongs. You have MMA discussions. You didn't say you didn't watch UFC last night. You know what, Zach? I'm glad you brought that up, right? I'm gonna keep this right here for a second, right? So I have a Discord member, a subscriber, Robbie. Robbie, shout out to you. Robbie, me and him was commenting in the Discord, and he was telling about how he's never watched Bellator before. He doesn't know what Bellator is. The last time he seen Bellator was in the Spike TV days. He's kind of been removed from MMA a little bit since Ronda Rousey lost, stuff like that. He's gotten back into MMA with this channel, which we appreciate you and we thank you for even considering us and thinking about us. But nonetheless, I was explaining to him about Bellator and how the weight classes and how they've evolved over the years. And so his first impression of AJ McKee was his entrance. And AJ McKee had an amazing entrance. You see the promo before the fight even happened. You see AJ McKee and one thing I love that they did, which I haven't seen the UFC done this in a while, is the walk from the locker room. The walk from the locker room where
we only they only do that sometimes in the main event, and it's a solid sometime. It's not a guarantee. I agree with that. With the you see that with bigger names, right? Like we used to see that all the time with John Jones, right? Like one of my favorite walkouts of all time is John Jones versus Glover Teixeira. That was like champ. That is one of the top.
He does the Ray Lewis thing in Baltimore. One of the
greatest entrances of all time. And you're right. Like they fought, like that does not happen as often in UFC.
Yeah, they made it feel big. AJ McKee comes out with a lot of money in his hands and throws it out into the crowd and everything like that. Sidebar here for a second, just quick, probably for Elijah. I noticed this during the intro for Pitbull. Excuse my language for a second. Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to have Pitbull come out to the champions here, the same thing as John Jones, to barking? So every time it goes, the champ is here, you keep hearing barks throughout the entrance. It was really annoying. But
creativity at its worst. At its worst.
I get it. You're a Pitbull. You're dog, right? Could have come out to a DMX song. Could have came out to hell, come out to Who Want the Dogs Out. That would have got the point across if you want it that way. Don't come out to you. Don't come out to you hearing the champ is here and hear barks going throughout the song. It's one of my favorite songs, Jadakiss, New York guy, you know. Anyway, again, his impression of AJ McKee, Robbie's impression of AJ McKee coming out with a lot of money and his energy, and then his performance, he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't wait to see another Bellator card. I can't wait to see AJ McKee again. And that's like what last night brought in the casual fans that don't know anything about Bellator to want to watch Bellator or want to watch AJ McKee. And now AJ McKee, I think, is on the way to being a superstar or maybe a star. He's a star now, but he may be a superstar.
Bellator has a superstar in the making with him. They have a few superstars.
I think so too.
AJ McKee, as a guy who has ran through not only the 145 division in this tourney, the top 5 people in the division, right? Yep. He now is talking about super fights. He's talking about this belt comes with a companion, and I want that 55 as well. So whenever we can get that signed, that's good and well. So he talks well, carries himself well. His dad's been for a while. He's got a great mind, got a great IQ for MMA, as we saw last night. And I mean, for those who didn't see the fight, not only is he super technical, that was one of the bigger issues I wanted to talk about on the phone with you. But we had a brief conversation. One of the things is that AJ McKee is so technical, and his striking is it's not unorthodox, but it's super sneaky. And the setup for the left high kick was there, right? Throws the left and then, drops the left, and the left is really just a feint to get that leg up. And I thought that was brilliant because one of the things with people who you're trying to use the length on the people who are small is that the people who are smaller can kind of get out the way if they're not too far in, right in the pocket. But AJ McKee made the right call with that head kick last night, and then finished it with a guillotine.
And he called it. He called it too. He said he's going to do that.
I think Pitbull is one of the more dangerous fighters at 145. I think there's not a lot of people who can beat him. However, I think AJ McKee is a guy who's almost fought every single type of fighter that Bellator has to offer. And that's a guy, in my opinion, who's probably more dangerous because he can come up with more ways than a guy who's just ended people.
And he's only 26.
Only 26,
so the sky is the limit for what he can achieve and just how big of a name he can be.
Yep.
Like, I think Scott Coker, I think in the press conference talked about like he would have, AJ McKee versus any featherweight in the world.
Yeah.
And like if you could cross promote with like one championship or Ryzen stuff like that's cool. AJ McKee is somebody that I think became a superstar or on his way to become a superstar last night. So good for AJ McKee. For like you said before, there's a rematch at 155 they can do now. At a higher weight class, how would Pitbull fare? There's been thoughts about maybe you give that some time, give it some breather. Maybe you have AJ McKee defend the featherweight belt one more time, and then go to lightweight.
He can definitely fight one more time before the year's over.
I wouldn't mind if you would do a AJ McKee versus, let's say, a Aaron Pico, or if this is gonna be AJ McKee's last fight at featherweight.
Yeah,
maybe you do Aaron Pico now and have that fight.
The crazy part is I doubt this will be his last fight at featherweight because I think he can make featherweight easy, and I also think he can make 155 easy. So I think
he struggled. He did struggle. He did struggle on the weigh-ins last year.
I think this is one of the first. I don't know if he struggles frequently, but it seems like he can make 145 still. So you're right. I would love to see that fight, but I doubt this is like one of the last few times we see him at featherweight.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, unless he gets destroyed, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what how he feels coming out of this. But I thought a good performance for him. There were some other good fights on the card and good performances as well. You had Usman Nurmagomedov, the cousin of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and look at this: Khabib Nurmagomedov not only successful in MMA but also successful at coaching as well.
3-0 last performance.
8-0 in this year. I mean, as a coach, so good for him. Usman Nurmagomedov defeats Manny Moro by TKO. Islam Mamedov defeat Brett Primus, who Brett Primus, you remember, was the guy that beat Michael Chandler
through leg kicks.
Through leg kicks, yeah.
That was one of the very first big TKO for leg kicks.
Yeah. It was he dead the leg of Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler couldn't walk on it.
Couldn't walk, rolled his ankle bad. It was a bad series of events after he kicked that leg.
Matt Burnell defeated Emmanuel Sanchez in a great fight. Definitely, if there's one fight you could go back and watch, it'll be that one. That one, the pace that they put on each other in that fight, and Matt Burnell performance was great. I don't know if he gets a title shot off the rip. Maybe he gets one more. Depends on what they want to go with AJ McKee. If AJ McKee's last fight, maybe you do Aaron Pico. If not, then Matt Burnell. He beating Emmanuel Sanchez, that sets him up for the number one contender.
A good fight.
And Zabit's brother.
Yeah.
20 years old. Kuzan Sharapov. Magomed Sharapov winning by TKO.
There's a lot of finishes on this card. Goichi Yamaguchi.
Like
a lot of people don't remember him, but he was a force I think he fought at 155 now.
Yes.
He was a force at 145. Like that guy was dangerous.
And so there's a lot of up and coming prospects you can look at this fight card and say, okay, Bellator has some potential here and some potential talent to work with and have great fights. I thought it was a great showing for Bellator. Not only to have the big main event, AJ McKee versus Pitbull, but also have the showcase of, hey, these are prospects we developed. Here's people we have coming on the roster. There's people that you can see coming up in the future. So I thought overall, in terms of just presence and in terms of production, I thought the commentary was really good with Marvin Ronaldo and Big John McCarthy.
Yeah.
I would give this a solid A.
Yeah, they performed last night. That's one of the things I like about Bellator is that Bellator, not that you don't expect them to do as good as they are, but Bellator will let you know that, like, hey, like, we are a top 3 promotion in the world as well.
No, yeah, they definitely prove it. For Rob, again, somebody that did not watch Bellator, hasn't watched Bellator in years. He was a fan, and he said, I want to watch another Bellator card. I can't wait to see what AJ McKee does and all the other prospects. So it's solid A. Zach, if you're still in the comment section, please give us your rating for the card. Would you give it an A, a B, or C? We do it letter gradings, but definitely worth your time of watching if you can. Now, you didn't watch it, but I did. Zach, I know you said you didn't watch UFC last night. I will give you my quick synopsis of the main event. The main event featured Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland. And this is supposed, like I said earlier on the show, this is supposed to be the big, crowning moment for Uriah Hall to, beat somebody other than, Chris Weidman or Anderson Silva, who may be a little bit older, maybe a little bit, going towards past their prime at this stage of their MMA career. And this is supposed to be against a Sean Strickland who's dangerous. And if you beat him, now we can talk about you fighting somebody maybe in the top 5 and get you close to that Izzy Adesanya fight. Right?
That's the build for you.
Right. That's supposed to be the building block, which is a tough building block. And when watching the fight, the thing that stuck out to me, which I almost forgot, was Uriah Hall has there's something to be said about when Uriah Hall is pushed. It seems like the mental aspect of the fight kind of wears on him.
Yeah,
and it seems like if you're pushing forward against Uriah Hall and you're pushing the pace and you're bullying him, there's a mental block there that he can't overcome. And I will say this, he did. There were moments where he did fight back. He did come on strong later in the fight. But Sean Strickland, man, the jab that he has, the ability to gauge the range, and that another part of the Uriah Hall fight was not being able to get the distance right of Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland would shell up, and so even though when Uriah Hall would try to throw a jab or try to land something, he would use his shoulder or he'll block his arm and roll with it. And it's kind of like the defense of Sean Strickland was a sight to behold. I was really impressed with his ability to be in the pocket almost, but be out of the way, and also having his defense up to like the punches never really landed. He ends on the arm, then ends on the shoulder. He's constantly moving.
So you know who he trains with, right? Who his head coach is?
No.
He trains out with Rafael Cordero on King's MMA.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, what fighter do you know at middleweight also kind of loves to stay in the pocket can get out? I believe Sean Strickland fights also. He fights orthodox, I think. If I'm not mistaken, he fights in the orthodox stance where his left hand is the lead, right?
I'm
pretty sure that's how he fights.
If he doesn't, southpaw.
If he fights southpaw, which other? I think he might fight southpaw. What other fighter
right now
also tends to fight southpaw and is shorter than the rest of the division?
No, he fights orthodox.
Orthodox, yeah. I think he can switch, but I'm pretty sure he's comfortable orthodox. What other fighter, kind of has that kind of shell or gets defensive, but stays in the pocket, right? Constantly stays in the pocket and is willing to trade? Kelvin Gastelum.
You're right.
Kelvin Gastelum is a southpaw, which is a little bit different. Technique can differ, but the guys at King's MMA are known for this. They are literally known for being in the pocket, getting out of the way just enough, but staying there enough so that they can counter. Or the defense is just there, right? And one of the bigger things heading into that fight was that Uriah Hall was like how Sean Strickland is a little sloppy. And I don't know if you saw that at the weigh-in. He's like, sloppy? Come on, Uriah. I'm sloppy? All right. Yeah. He kind of added to that. And I thought that was, on my part, I don't think he is a jerk. But I also want to say that he's kind of someone who eggs his opponent on. And I think in the mental aspect, he had this fight mentally before Uriah showed up. And that was one of the things I thought from there was like, wow, like Sean Strickland is really starting to find a home at middleweight after jumping up from welterweight. Like he's definitely gotten more comfortable. His body is filled out. He's definitely been able to like use his striking efficiently, right? I think he's definitely built a middleweight home, and I'm proud of him for that. Remember, he also
he's a legit middleweight. I don't know why he was at welterweight or his
that cut was bad. We used to talk about that
career.
He used to look a little bad. Like he used to use just shriveled. And I used to think he was good, but it wasn't consistent. He wasn't as consistent as he is at middleweight. I think it's because he's healthier too.
Yes. And honestly, man, with Uriah Hall, he's kind of a slow starter as is. Like even in an Anderson Silva fight, it took him a while to get going. And Sean Strickland, just the jabs of just being able to just pop the jab, and you can see literally maybe halfway through the first round, you can see Uriah Hall being able to just trying to twitch his eye, and then you see the cut on his eye, so you can see how bad it was bothering him, and it just kept building from there. And there was moments in the fight where Sean Strickland, in between rounds where they're taking breaks, Sean Strickland is standing up, walking around, ready to go for the next round, and Uriah Hall, his body language is just he's trying to get his breathing. The coaches are trying to wake him up and trying to get him going, and it seemed like he never could get there. It's an absolutely bullying performance for Sean Strickland, and a very impressive performance.
Yeah, I don't want to say, I want him to be the bully, but I like these dominant wins, right? Because he may not be finishing opponents, but he's also proving that the people that they're matching him with are not on the same level. So sometimes, somehow, somewhere, UFC's got to give him a step up in competition. And I think he could answer that call with people, finding people in the top 7 of the division. I think Sean Strickland, his striking has gotten significantly better from welterweight, right? I think he's a guy who he goes in there, he throws when he's supposed to, right? Like that, how hard that is to throw, to know when to throw correctly and how to throw, and then defensively he's getting better. He's going to be dangerous. He's going to be a dangerous guy at middleweight. So I'm definitely interested to see what's next on the horizon for Sean Strickland.
Sean Strickland, I think he could have finished him as well.
Probably.
It didn't go that way, but he definitely had chances to finish him. He wins by unanimous decision. Where would Sean Strickland goes next? I think possibly you could do one of two things. If you can't get the because I know that they're trying. They've been trying to get Paulo Costa fight. Yeah. If you can't get Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori, maybe you do Sean Strickland versus a Vettori next.
Hear me out.
Go ahead.
Wait, were you done? Sorry.
No. I have one more. If that's too high, and if you can't get Vettori a fight, then maybe you do. If Vettori can fight Costa and at least Sean Strickland out, maybe you do the loser or the winner, or maybe the loser. The loser of the Darren Till Derek Brunson fight fights Sean Strickland next.
I like that fight. I'm gonna throw a third candidate in there.
Please do.
My boy Luke Rockhold.
Yeah,
Luke Rockhold's been looking for a fight, couldn't get a fight. I don't think anyone really wants to fight him. I think he's a very dangerous guy. I think a name like beating a guy like Strickland, who's kind of really ripping through talent, in the middleweight division, and Luke Rockhold is a guy who's not settling for anyone below top 10, right? Maybe even top 5, because that's just the name, being a former champion, that's what he wants. And if he's not getting Weidman because Weidman's leg is busted and healing, Sean Strickland is a great 5-round main event for him.
See, I'm glad you said it, because that is an option, but it sounds to me that Luke Rockhold is waiting for a big name
and that's the issue.
Like who will be a big name in the middleweight division? Like
Costa.
Maybe Costa. A Darren Till will be a big name in the middleweight division. I'm trying to think of another one. I'm looking at the rankings real quick. There's not really a lot of Kevin Gastelum, maybe a big name. But no, he's looking for somebody of that ilk to kind of fight against.
Because he wants 1 to 2 fights to the belt. He doesn't want to go through the mess, which is understandable, but he's also been out for forever.
That too. So I don't know exactly where the negotiations are for Luke Rockhold return. Yeah. It seems like he is waiting for a big name that kind of will get him, close to a belt. So I don't know if that's Sean Strickland, but it's also an option if they could move Sean Strickland within the top, let's say 8 or 9. Uriah Hall right now stands at 8, so maybe Sean Strickland moves into that range. Kevin Gastelum, he's fighting Jared Cannonier in a couple of weeks.
It's a good fight.
Who knows how that's going to move around? So there are definitely options for Sean Strickland, and like you said, Luke Rockhold to be there. No, I thought it was a good performance for Sean Strickland. For Uriah Hall, he takes a big step back. Not just because of the loss, really, but because of the way he lost. And it seemed like he for the first half of the fight, maybe up until the 4th or 5th round, really, it seemed like he was just like he did not want to be there, and it seemed like he was just having a hard time getting going. I thought mentally he was just being bullied by Sean Strickland and just being pushed around, and it seemed like he like that the aspirations of possibly seeing Uriah Hall fighting Israel Adesanya kind of went away a little bit. He had a little bit of the hype with the Israel Adesanya. I mean the Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman win, but it seemed like he really took a big step back with this one. For him, maybe he fights he has let me see his record real quick. He hasn't fought Brad Tavares. So maybe Brad Tavares be a good fight.
Brad Tavares coming off I believe a recent win.
Yeah, maybe you do him versus Brad Tavares. That could be a good fight, and honestly, a big test for Uriah Hall, because Uriah Hall, this one was a little bit of a mental block of him not being able to answer the call, and he looked kind of defeated on the stool. Again, credit to him. He did in the 5th round. He did come out with a little bit more fire. He did show like he wanted to be in that fight at that moment, but for most of the fight, I think he was having a hard time waking up and getting going. And Brad Tavares is going to push him. So I think that'd be a great test for Uriah Hall, be a great test for Brad Tavares, and that's a fight you can make. Yeah. And for the rest of the card, I thought the card was solid.
Card had crazy finishes. This card had crazy finishes.
You had Shannon Bies beat Gloria DiPaula by TKO. I'm not going to count TKO or knockout. Jared Gooden with his win. Nosik Bagdasaryan. I hope I'm saying that name right. That guy you got to watch out for. I was very impressed by his win over Colin Anglin. It's a featherweight. Again, I'm really excited to see where he goes. Jason Witt versus Brian Barberena. That was a good fight.
Barberena, if there's a Barberena fight, it's a scrap. It's a scrap. It's a pure scrap.
Phil Rowe with his win. There's some solid performances on this card. Unfortunately, it kind of got lost in the shuffle with this whole Bellator card that was on the other channel. But literally going head to head with the UFC. So hopefully people go back and watch some of these performances. I would give it a solid B minus, B plus. It's not a B. I thought that it did deliver in certain aspects of it. It just didn't get the attention. So if just going off what we've seen last night, I'll go B plus. I think that there were some surprise performances, and given what the card was supposed to be, and given how they came out and delivered, I'll solid B plus.
I agree. I'll go with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And again, anybody in the chat, if you're watching, please give your rating in the comment section. We'd love to hear what your thoughts were on Bellator and UFC Vegas 33. Obviously, Bellator wins the night, no question. But there were some good quality fights on both promotions, and I thought there were some good prospects you look out for. But yeah, Elijah, that's basically our UFC versus Bellator 263 talk right there. Now let's get into a little bit of news, right?
Yeah.
So it was announced on, I believe it was Thursday.
Yep.
Wednesday. I think it was.
I think it was Thursday. Arrow texted me.
It was Thursday.
Yeah, I feel like I wasn't at work. I was at work when it had me and Arrow were texting about it. So I feel like it definitely was Thursday. Or maybe I noticed it Thursday and maybe it was late, but I'm pretty sure. I feel like if it wasn't Thursday, it definitely had to be Wednesday.
Yeah, so we have UFC 266, which tickets go on sale, I believe, on Friday for that's going to be the Brian Ortega versus Alex Volkanovski fight. the Valentin Shevchenko versus the Lauren Murphy and Nick Diaz return versus Robbie Lawler. Right, that's in September. They announced the October card, which is going to be UFC 267, which is going to feature John Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira and Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan, which that one should be interesting because of the whole controversy of Peter Yan illegally kneeing Aljamain Sterling in the head. And that fight is going to take place in Fight Island, which we haven't been to Fight Island for a while now. Seems like
because everything's been open
since I think what was it, January?
Yeah,
that was the last Fight Island card.
Yeah, I want to say. Let me see here. I'll look it up and keep going.
Yeah, I think it was the first Conor fight back with Dustin. I think that was in Abu Dhabi.
Yep. January 16th, the Abu Dhabi card, and that actually. Hold on here. Keep going.
They haven't been back since. They haven't been back to that to Fight Island in a while. And that's going to be on October 30th. And it's also right now. Ariel Helwani reports that as of right now, it could always change, but in the United States, it is to be free. It is to be a free pay-per-view card at 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Eastern and United States, Eastern, where we're from, New York, Eastern area, and it's supposed to be a combo between ESPN and ESPN Plus. Now, I'm very intrigued to get your thoughts on this, Elijah, because we haven't had a free UFC pay-per-view in years. We haven't had a title fight on a UFC card, a plain non-pay-per-view UFC card in a while too.
The last one I want to say was the last free one I remember, free title fight on a fight night was Demetrius Johnson. Remember that age where remember that time where they're like, we can't, like, he's the best, but we just can't put him on a pay-per-view just yet because it's like, whether it sells or not. The last one I want to say was him versus Joseph Benavidez, and that was a fight night. Maybe
what was I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, Davidson Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez was the last non-pay-per-view title fight. I want to say, I can't say for sure, but I thought I remember us talking with Keith Lee after the fight.
Yep. Figueiredo was a fight.
Was that what it? Yeah.
We
were talking with Keith Lee afterwards.
It was a while, years ago. Yeah.
Let me just make sure. We'll check this, but nonetheless, I'm very intrigued for two reasons. Right. One, I'm interested to see how
it's the fight night number 2. Fight night. Benavidez Figueiredo 2 was the last one. That's what it was. They fought the first time free, second time free as well. So we didn't pay for those.
Okay. Yeah. So. We haven't I'm interested to see how this one does because of John Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. You have Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. 2 title fights, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the ratings for that fight card, because that to me it will be a strong indication of where the UFC is at popularity wise, right?
Yeah.
You're on ESPN, ESPN Plus. People don't have to pay to watch it. I would think they would be on big ESPN for the main event, but I don't know, because I was also let known that college football starts around that time, and we all know how college football is in ESPN, and that's why I was surprised, and that's why when I thought about it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense why it's not on ABC, because that would have been going against college football, which I don't think they want that happening either. So there's a lot of small, if you look at just how they could look at viewership and just how demographic and just where the UFC's thinks that they can get the best numbers going for the Saturday 11 in the morning card. It's very interesting, very intriguing to see them do this.
I agree. I think it'll end up being okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think it'll end up being okay, but there's always the chance. It's just weird, right? Like you said, it's a weird position to be in where they have to go against that big of a competition.
Let me ask you this, right? Does the UFC can this card do 1 million views?
Yes.
You can do 1 million views.
This card can do 1 million views. It can. Will it It'll come close, but it can do 1 million views. I do think it can do 1 million views.
It's interesting, man, because again, with college football going on, it being a Saturday 11 o'clock card.
Well, what time does football doesn't come on to what, the afternoon? I mean, I don't watch football like that, so I don't really know. But I doubt football comes on at the beginning of the morning, right?
There's some that start around that time, 11 o'clock. There's also like the pregame stuff that people watch as well. Yeah. There's also like if let's say if it's starting at 11 o'clock, the main card starts at 11 o'clock, then there's going to be some tail off. There's going to be people that's going to switch to the other channel to watch college football. Yeah. Depends on what game is on as well. So like there are a lot of interesting dynamics to this where it's like, I'm happy that they're doing this on free TV. Like yes. We're going to talk about in a second the Derek Lewis and Cyril Gahn thing, but I'm glad they're doing this free. And then two, like I like this was a really big indication of the UFC's putting on 2 title fights. Maybe they stack that card up a little bit. What kind of number in this climate did the UFC do? The UFC tried to tout themselves as being, the growing sport and wants to be on par with the NFL and other sports. They're going against college football. So now let's see what kind of viewership they do against college football
on biggest Saturday. Conglomerates for sports out there, for college sports, I would say. Yeah, for the NCAA.
It's basketball. So fascinating.
It's fascinating. I think again though, UFC is one of those sports that's continuing to go on, right? Like college football, college basketball, those are established sports, but UFC continues to grow. So there's a pretty good chance that they'll do well. But the issue again is you have people who have been watching college sports since they were like
conditioned.
High. They are conditioned to be, this is our thing. So that's the only thing you have to do is the question is, how is UFC going to drive people from other sports to watch this, even though something like you're saying, like how are you going to drive them to watch UFC outside of the regular sports that they love watching? That's going to be their biggest thing.
I agree. I can't wait to see it. Maybe we'll do it again. You have the Discord links in the comment section, also in the description. We do watch-alongs. We watch the card with you guys. That one I would definitely love to do a watch-along for that card. Yeah, being that it's going to be free, and then we could talk about that, and maybe we'll do a show afterwards if it's done. Let's say at 1 o'clock or whatever. We'll see. But Kazmat Chimaev is going to be returning on that card against the Leech. Amanda Ribas is going to be fighting Verna Janroba. Walt Harris versus Tai Tuivasa. I don't understand why. I don't understand why they continue to give Walt Harris these tough matchups. I have no idea why.
I think Walt. I got money on Walt. I like Tai Tuivasa. I got money.
I like Walt Harris too, man. I don't know if he's beating a Tai Tuivasa.
I think he is. And I'll tell you why he beats Tai Tuivasa.
Go ahead, please. I can't think of any reason why.
He has to have learned. He has to have learned from that Overeem fight. You cannot rush a finish. You cannot
even what was his last fight? Help me out. Anybody in the chat, you can tell me the last Walt Harris fight. I don't know. I know Walt Harris may not be the biggest of names, but I'm pretty sure he lost his last one as well.
He lost to Merchant Tabora. He got taken down and ground and pounded.
Yeah, and that was after the first couple of minutes of the he started off really, really strong like he usually does, and then he got taken down, and after that it was all over. You see the gas tank kind of empty out, and man, against Tai Tuivasa, who can crack, who we've seen can take a punch and can
better
take damage, who could get better. Man, that's a tough matchup for him. I wish they kind of give somebody that's a walking, that could, it's a bad matchup, but nonetheless, it'll be an interesting card. Now, Elijah, lastly on this docket here, something that's near and dear to our hearts.
Yes, sir.
November. Why is November special?
What'd you say? Say it again.
Why is November special to us, Elijah?
November is a special time because you and I, including our brothers, have had this special tradition of going to Madison Square Garden to watch a UFC event live in person at one of the biggest stages in sports entertainment.
Yes.
Madison Square Garden, which you and I, we have been fans for I want to say well over 10 years now, almost, right? Because we started around 2011, 2012, 2013
Yes.
range, because that's what, like like John Jones was at his height around then, right? We were comfortable watching him off of Tough with Chael Sonnen, right? So that's around that time. We didn't believe UFC was going to come to New York. New York fought it tooth and nail. We finally get it, then we end up going to a UFC event. We end up going to 2 UFC events back to back.
Did we go to 3? No. One of them canceled.
One of them canceled. We were supposed to go to one in Brooklyn, but again, the whole Connor thing, all this other stuff, it just got wild. No.
Yes.
Could be versus.
That too. We were supposed to go to one in Brooklyn it was supposed to be Khabib versus Max Holloway, and then it turned into Khabib versus Ali Quinta. And at that time, we was like, you know what? Nah, we saw that ticket. It's not worth it. It's not worth exactly it. And honestly, I think we made a good decision in not going. I didn't really. Nobody really remembers that card for anything. But. Yeah, man. We went to the DC versus Derek Lewis one, which was supposed to be something else entirely. And then the last we went to was the Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz,
which was iconic. Iconic. We met good people. We were Tyreece and I. The people were betting. We were going over fights in detail like that. I want to say had to be one of the best moments in MMA. Being an MMA fan, but this year, my good man.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah. Could you tell the people what is possible for Madison Square Garden?
Right. So what is possible, because it's important to note that this deal has not been done yet. And, Bellator, Dana White and the UFC have not come out and said that they're confirmed for Madison Square Garden. We've only heard from Brett Okamoto that that's the targeted date. We heard from Ariel One that's the targeted date is November 6th, a week after UFC 267, which then makes sense why they're not charging you 2 pay-per-views back to back as well. I'm very interested to see if they do Madison Square Garden on November 6th, just because of right now it seems like COVID in New York the deaths are down. The deaths are significantly down from what they were. And then the cases are not as high.
They're rising, but they're nowhere.
They're rising, but they're not what they were, a year ago or early on this year. So definitely turning in the right direction. And comparing to they're going to Houston, they're going to Texas and stuff like that. In Nevada, it is I think promising that there are, we are kind of doing okay when it comes to COVID. You're gonna hear somebody talking in the background, whatever. It's in the morning. I can't control it. Anyway, we're gonna get Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman too, which is interesting in its own right, because I'm not surprised, but I'm intrigued what people think about that second fight. And then we're also getting Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler, which is another interesting fight, which I thought me and you predicted was gonna happen.
Yep.
I'm interested to see what other fights they put on this card. Nate Diaz teased that he was coming on November card. You have Gilbert Burns out there calling out Nate Diaz. That's a possible matchup, which is interesting because Leon Edwards is just gone. And then you have Brendan Moreno. You talked about wanting to fight on November against Cody Garbrandt.
Yep.
So and then you have Amanda Nunes who got COVID and is out of this upcoming card. Where will she land? Will they reset the fight for November? Like, there's a bunch of interesting matches they could do for November because they like to stack up the Madison Square Garden card. Yeah. I'm very interested to see how this comes together.
Me too. I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. And then just makes it weird for us, for Madison Square Garden, to have these 2 big fights, because then we get to see it in person.
Let me ask you this, right? So one of so we have September lockdown.
Yes.
We have October lockdown.
Yep.
Only other 2 cards left would be December and then November. I don't believe they're doing 2 pay-per-views in December this year.
I don't think so.
So, we have a couple of title fights that are still there. We have Dustin Poirier, which versus possibly Charles Oliveira in December.
End of the year.
End of the year. That's what Charles Oliveira wanted. I think Dustin Poirier may want that too. and then you have the middleweight title still up in the air.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the heavyweight title as well. Do you see? So can we say that we think the flyweight title is going to be defended in New York?
Yes,
I think so.
Possible. I think it's very possible.
I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible off the fact of Brandon Moreno's performance last time and trying to capitalize on that performance. And if you could do in a big stage like Madison Square Garden, having him there, I think it will elevate him as well. Against Cody Garbrandt, that fight makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I think it's very possible to see Israel Adesanya versus Rod Whittaker in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, but I think both of those fights possible. I do think the Usman fight might be the more realistic fight. I do think a guy like Usman is starting to get his paid dues, and he's probably going to want a good venue to get the money. And I think Madison Square Garden is more than enough.
Yeah, so it's very interesting to see what they're going to go from here. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you know, guys, what comes of this. We're going to get tickets or not. If you guys are going, we'll love to see you there and interact with you.
We'd love to.
Let's see what happens, man. But I'm excited.
Me too, brother. Me too.
All right, so this is it, man. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. Zach DG King G. That's my first time seeing you here. One, I love your profile pic. And then two, I hope to see you again. Please sign in the Discord. Please subscribe and like the channel if you haven't already. And for the viewers watching, we appreciate you.
Yes, we do. Flathead. Oh my gosh, Flathead, my brother. I hope you're doing well. Proud of you, man. Hope you're doing good.
Seeing you, Flathead. The description is here. Get in the Discord. Get in the Discord.
No rush. Don't let Tyreece rush you. Whenever you
No. Get in the Discord. Let's talk. Let's have these conversations. I want to watch with you. But good to see you, Flathead. We appreciate you, man. Regardless.
This is a great man right here. It's a great guy.
All right, man. We'll be back. God, we have the pay-per-view coming up. We'll see how that's going to go. $70.
I know.
All right, guys. Signing off. My name is Tyriece Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This has been MMA Renegade, episode 13. See you guys next week for Derek Lewis versus Cyril Gane.